One of the most common questions that I've gotten this offseason is who is going to start opposite of Kelee Ringo for Georgia at cornerback? I don't have the answer for you. There is no depth chart published on that kind of thing, and Kirby Smart won't be doing that. That's not his style. But we are featuring a player today in our series, our top returning Bulldog series based off PFF grades from the 2021 season. We are featuring a guy that is probably, I would say, a favorite to get that role. At minimum, he's heavily in the mix. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We're from UGAsports.com. This is a series, as I said, that we're doing looking at the top returning Georgia Bulldogs heading into 2022. And Brent, I did all that to say we're talking about Kamari Lassiter in this episode. Now, we haven't seen a whole lot of him in meaningful action, but what we have seen looks like he's got a chance to be a really meaningful contributor this season for Georgia.
Yes, and going to be a need, and like you said, that opposite Ringo, that's a needed contributor. You're going to have to see, we even saw in the spring game, I think Lassiter actually did not play. He didn't play in the spring game, did he, if I remember right? Or if he did, it was very limited because we saw William Poole a lot on the outside in the spring game. And we've talked about him already and the versatility he brings. But when you're talking about size, speed, combo, and just guys that kind of jump off the tape when you look at him, like ability and things, playmaking ability, Lassiter is very much that.
He was a 4-star cornerback out of high school, according to Rivals, the class of 2021. Originally from the Savannah, Georgia area, so that's where he actually grew up. But he did get recruited after moving to Tuscaloosa, of all places. So that was always interesting that Georgia went and plucked a defensive back that was playing in Nick Saban's backyard over there. He had all the offers. You know all about those things. Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, that's the top of the heap at the time. They all wanted him. Just because I think it's proven in college football, you can never have enough defensive backs. And he is, as I said, right there in the mix for the Dogs. Here's his Georgia Dogs profile, 6 foot, 180 pounds. And we were kind of talking before we started recording this, Brent, that Georgia really likes those tall and long defensive backs. And to Lassiter's credit, I think he plays a little bit bigger than what his stature is.
Yeah, and we're going to see it in at least I know one of the plays we've highlighted it where he's going up against a 6'5" receiver and he's there making a play on the football. So he's definitely there, and I think that's the thing you saw with him. And that's what really you want to see from any corner that's coming into the game and having an opportunity to play in limited spurts within the season is you want to see him be able to make plays on the ball and obviously not get beat deep, those kind of things that are very common, but I think the biggest thing that you saw with him is that, a couple pass breakups, he had an INT that we'll highlight later. It was a phenomenal play on the ball. And he's just making plays on the football, and that's a big deal at the cornerback position.
We'll describe the best that we can because I'm just going to be honest with you. Some of the video angles on Kamari Lassiter plays, not the greatest. And part of that's just because he typically played in garbage time, and usually the TV networks are kind of filling time and not showing as many replays as we would like to see. So we'll do the best we can, but there's going to be a few of these where he's not on the screen until the end or the camera moves or what have you. So forgive us for that. But he is at the bottom of the screen here, and as you mentioned, against a bigger receiver.
And folks get mad when we show all 22 stuff.
Never
strike that from the record. Oh, well.
Launch a catapult at him. That's what I say.
There you go.
Here we go. Here's the snap.
Press man. Going to have to do a lot of it. And that, I think it's the Kiki. I forget his last name, but was one of Missouri's best receivers last year, even though obviously their passing attack was not anything to brag about. But that guy's 6'5", and he's making a play on the football against the 6'5" receiver in phase, doing a great job with the opposite hand right there, and then making the play with the near hand, and then gives a little bit of a flex.
Yeah, you like that flex at the end?
Yes, very good. Very much so. You make a play on the ball, get a chance to play. I mean, he played 158 snaps in regular time. You make a play like that, flex a little bit.
I'm pausing it here only to show that, like, in his back pedal when he shifted his hips, really smooth, stayed with the receiver, and then he kept the leverage that you need to have, like force the receiver up against the sideline and do it in a way that you're not going to draw a penalty. This is textbook in terms of just leverage.
Yeah, and what's interesting, even watching him, is on this singular play, it's kind of a way of looking at how Georgia played defensively last year. You saw more of the head turned, looking for the football and trying to make plays on the football, as opposed to the like we saw with Campbell and Stokes a lot over the years, where it's eyes right on the receiver the whole time and just smacking down on the arms, that kind of technique. So they've with the die there last year, Muschamp in as well. It feels like they changed up some technique things a little bit, and you see him making plays on the ball.
Same game, also against Missouri. You see that they're in the trip set at the bottom here. It's super popular, especially in the SEC now, just because of the route combos you can get off of that. Georgia does it as well. Pointing out that Lassiter here is way back here, and he will fall off the screen. But look how far he is off the line of scrimmage here. That's a full 10 yards.
Yep.
Or where the receivers are. It's about 8 yards line of scrimmage.
Yep. And he goes off the screen, and then when he comes back on the screen, it's not going to be in a good way.
Yes. So he falls back here.
And then, over pursues. And is not, and now granted, this is semi-busted play a little bit, but don't want to be that guy. Over pursues. What's the emoji where you kind of do the teeth like that? Like that's eek emoji, something like that. That's where you have to be able to tackle. You have to be physical. Now, from a grading perspective, he had a good tackling grade. This is probably the only one where he actually got downgraded in a way, but that's going to be something where you just got to be able to do it. And there's other opportunities and plays that he made that he did have that opportunity. This is just one we highlighted that he didn't.
If we're gonna just this is me putting on the rose-colored glasses because you're totally right here. But if you're gonna miss, at least miss to this side. I mean, I know he's turning that way, but at least miss to this side because look what
where your help is.
Yeah, and that's something I think Georgia has done really well, is that kind of field awareness to let me cut off the only avenue you have to actually gain a lot of yards here, because he misses, but then the tackle's made. Probably you're talking a yard difference, maybe two. Totally still not what is taught, not what should happen. He's got to do better than that in open field. But just to point out, here's another. This is always interesting to me, especially from this angle, when you see corners that he is fully facing a sideline right now.
He's in zone coverage.
Yep.
That's
easy way to tell it. But I'm just when you see the way that where his head is and where his hips are pointed, it's always an interesting look from this particular camera angle.
And on this play, you can't see the exact moment where he gets beat. But because of how he's lined up and because of where his eyes are looking into the backfield a little bit, he gets a little flat-footed. Mm-hmm. About right, I think right before that, maybe even on the play fake, just a little bit. But just there's a moment where he gets just barely flat-footed, and now he's beat. Now, granted, this is a phenomenal catch. You can't. This is
one of the catches of the year.
Yeah, that's an amazing catch. But he was still beat. If the ball's out in front of the guy and then he catches it in stride, and it's a much bigger play. But phenomenal catch from somebody not named Josh Vann for South Carolina.
Because you're right, he does get beat. I mean, he's within arm's length here, and he tries to fight a little bit. But you just got to have to. You can't let people get over the top.
He was beat, and he was beat earlier. He was beat early in the route, and then you're just trying to recover and fight and do whatever you can. And for the most part, he did a good job. The guy just made a phenomenal catch. That's some body contortioning here.
We mentioned this in our last episode that when you get to play your backups against Michigan in the college football playoff semifinal, it tells you were doing pretty darn good in that game, because you don't typically see backups in the semifinal for a national championship. Well, you did here.
And this is another one where this is a way for us to highlight, hey, PFF grading is an execution grade in the end. And he very much executed what he was asked to do in this play, because the result of the play is terrible from a Georgia perspective. This is a touchdown. But he comes screaming off the edge, is very physical against fellow freshmen. Was it Donovan Edwards, I think, that ended up at Michigan? That's the running back there. And just right by him and even held probably just a little bit. But, obviously David Daniel actually there gets beat on the double move. Right there you see the receiver at the top of the screen breaking down, gets beat on the double move. Great, good play in general. But for his part, and this is why we wanted to highlight it, if you're going to, be coming off the corner, and you're going to have to do that, and you will do that in Georgia's defense. They will blitz the corners, be physical, go through running backs, and he got in the quarterback's face. Unfortunately, just a very easy throw for him to put the ball out there. That's
definitely a hold there. Really can't tell.
Every play, right? It's on every play.
There may be a hold that, yeah. I'm just, I'm pandering to the audience here, but
yes.
This one, ticky tack, fine, go either way. This one, come on now, obvious that a mercy touchdown was warranted at this point, and I believe it made it a 30-something to 11 game, if I remember how that popped up, because Michigan went for 2 and got it.
But still, he was physical, did exactly what he was asked to do here. Great job by him, and something you want to see. You want to see those guys be physical when they come off the edge like that.
You teased that earlier, and you actually don't see Kamari Lassiter on the screen because this camera angle, thought that, hey, we're watching a football game. How about we only have, 7 defenders on the screen?
Outside of Missouri and Charleston Southern, this was the game he got the third most snaps. He got 25 snaps in this game, 90.8 overall grade, in part because of this play.
Oh, he appears out of nowhere.
I mean, just now, if the camera angle was better, you could see he actually does a phenomenal job on this play of he takes one false step and does a great job of recovering and then finding the ball. He's the only one right there that's just truly tracking the ball. Everybody else is just kind of running and trying to get in position to make a play. But he's actually tracking and looking at the ball. Jackson does there at the last second, but phenomenal play from him. Overall, when you look at his season, he actually got beat a few times from a big play perspective. He had 9 receptions allowed on 14 targets, 171 yards. 2 pass breakups, so one we saw, another one that we didn't, and then the phenomenal interception that we saw against Vanderbilt. In that game against Vanderbilt, he only allowed 1 catch for 6 yards. So
should mention too, when you were talking about how he tracks the ball, played a lot of offense in high school. So he played at a level where when you're an athlete of his caliber, you're going to be defensive back. You're probably also going to be a wide receiver, potentially even have a lot of plays like a quarterback for Wildcat stuff. He did a lot of stuff at receiver, and he can play special teams as well. So tracking the ball, he's got good ball skills is what I'm saying.
Yes, very much so. And you can see, and it jumps off. It jumps out on the tape.
And when you start looking, I began this episode this way. When you look at who could be the other corner that kind of supplements what Kelee Ringo is doing, who's going to take that spot for Georgia, because I'd say there's 3 or 4 guys now with some of these freshmen coming on campus that are vying for that starting corner role to really solidify what Georgia's doing over there. You prefer not to have a rotation. I'd say Kamari Lassiter probably has a heads up on everyone else in that competition, but he still has to come into fall camp and play.
Yep, healthy. He's, I think, play 1, game 1, he's the guy. And now it is, unless one of the 5-star freshmen that are coming in is just instantly that guy from day one, I think he's going to be there when the season opens up against Oregon.
One other thing I want to point out is that 23 was the number on this list, and we mentioned minimum number of snaps for the most part, and then you need to have a 70 grade or above from Pro Football Focus. And when you start looking at who all we featured, they're on the bottom line here. You've got Kamari Lassiter now. We had William Poole and Kelee Ringo, Dan Jackson, and Javon Bullard. So that's 5. And we're only talking that we've done, 11 or 12 features? It's a lot of good defensive back play, a lot of talent at defensive back returning for Georgia. So that's got to excite Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp.
Yep, and at least 2 more coming up that will feature here in the future.
Look at you.
We'll tease, right? We'll tease.
Ways. Yes. It's a great tease. So we are approaching the top 10 We'll have one more to go before we get into that. We're going to keep doing these about 2 a week and kind of a little bit shorter. Once we get to the top 5, we'll go super in depth on those players so you can see who's leading Georgia, Brock Bowers, heading into the season. Oh, darn, did I give it away? Do you think people wouldn't have figured that out?
No. They're just going to enjoy watching him catch the football and run.
The harder part is going to be for us to figure out
which plays.
Yeah, because there's a lot there for him. All right, we're going to wrap it up for now here on our UGA Sports YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because that helps us out a lot, and it makes it where you can find our content even easier, as we are the most popular Georgia Bulldogs channel on YouTube, and we're really proud of what we do with our film analysis, but not in a way that tries to like show you how much we know, because that wouldn't work out very well for me. But just kind of in a way to like, hey, here's some things that can make you a little bit smarter about what's going on. Brent knows the data and the analysis, and he coaches ball. I've talked to a lot of coaches, and I have the video side of it, and I've kind of seen some training. That's why we make a good pair in doing this. And Film Don't Lie will return as we hit the season here shortly. Brent, thanks as always. We'll see you all next time for number 11 on our list of top returning Bulldogs from Pro Football Focus.